Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. I'm your host, Mike Williams, and here's my co-host, Jeffrey.
Good afternoon, Bay Nation.
Today we're going to be going over the Week 13 game previews, start and sits, going over some spreads, and don't forget, if there's a specific game you want, hover your mouse at the bottom of the screen and it'll take you exactly where you want to go. Also, all of those are in the description as well. All right, without further ado, let's get it started, Jeffrey.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this matchup, we're going to be going over the Saints versus the Falcons. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The New Orleans Saints are traveling to Atlanta to face the Falcons. The spread is -2.5 Saints. Weather does not factor into this game because the Falcons play in a dome. There are a few injuries to discuss. For the Falcons, running back Todd Gurley and wide receiver Julio Jones are questionable to play in this matchup. For the Saints, quarterback Drew Brees is still on injured reserve and planning to make his return in Week 15.
Julio! Get healthy. Same with you, Todd Gurley. And Drew Brees. These are all fantasy relevant options or affect fantasy relevant options. But let's start off with the home team, the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan played fine against the Raiders, who got destroyed by the Falcons last week. That was unbelievable. No one saw that coming. But we're not starting Matt Ryan. With Julio Jones there, it makes it a lot more tempting to start Matt Ryan, but New Orleans defense is amazing, so I'm really not trying to start him. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Calvin Ridley's an auto start every week. Julio Jones, if he starts for the Falcons, he starts for me. So play Julio Jones if he plays, but if not, I'm not really excited about the other options, but if I had to pick one, I guess I'd say Russell Gage. Next, we have the running back position. Todd Gurley seems like there's a chance that he misses this game. If he plays, it's not a good matchup against the Saints. I have him as a flex play, but I would expect him to get some volume if he does play. Another player that you could look out for is Brian Hill or Ito Smith. I'm not really excited about either of them. Like I said, this New Orleans defense is really good, so I would try to find other options. Next, we have the tight end position. If Hayden Hurst plays, I think that it kind of relies on Julio Jones. I know that kind of sounds weird, but he plays better with Julio Jones in the lineup. And the reason that is because Julio Jones helps them move the ball down the field, which gives them more opportunities and more opportunities in the red zone. If he doesn't have those opportunities, he's not going to be able to capitalize on anything. So I think that Hayden Hurst is in play, but much better play with Julio. Next, we have the defense. No thank you. Kicker. Yes, you play that kicker every week. He's an absolute beast. Next, we have the Saints. And Drew Brees, like you heard, is not going to be back until at least Week 15. So, unfortunately, we have Taysom Hill. But I think you can play Taysom Hill. He's going to get you 50 yards on the ground, and he's got to throw a touchdown eventually, right? He hasn't thrown one as a quarterback yet, so he's got to throw one. I'm thinking it could be this week. Next, we have the wide receiver position, and the only one I'm targeting is Michael Thomas, and I think that he is a low-end wide receiver 1. Next, we have the running back position. Alvin Kamara, my man, why are they not throwing you the ball? Taysom Hill does not seem like he is the check down Charlie like Drew Brees is. So that's definitely capping Alvin Kamara's upside. Now, that being said, Alvin Kamara can always take something in that house, so you always play him. But I do think that that makes Latavius Murray a little more interesting. Latavius Murray has been a top 12 running back over the last 5 weeks. That's pretty solid. So Atlanta's run defense is actually pretty good. Now, at the beginning of the season, it was mostly because they were getting thrown all over. But they actually have been pretty solid against the run. But I do like Latavius Murray, Alvin Kamara combination. Plus, I think the Saints are going to hold the ball more. So, I think that you could play Latavius Murray as a flex play with upside and Alvin Kamara as a low-end running back 1, high-end running back 2. Next, we have the tight end position. No. Defense, yes, absolutely. Kicker, yes, you can. So 2.5 point spread. For the Saints, I'm gonna have to go with those Saints. I know they're on the road, and I know that Atlanta dominated the Raiders last week, but that New Orleans defense is going to come to play, and they know that they have to get it done without Drew Brees there if they want to go to the playoffs. So I think they're going to be working hard. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one, Jeffrey. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Lions versus the Bears. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Detroit Lions are traveling to Chicago to face the Bears. The spread is -3.5 Bears. Weather should not be an issue in this game. For the Lions, running back DeAndre Swift is questionable to play in this matchup, and wide receiver Kenny Golladay is out. For the Bears, though, Nick Foles practiced in full on Thursday. Mitchell Trubisky will be the starter.
Really? Mitchell Trubisky is going to be the starter? Intriguing. So, starting with the home team, Chicago Bears. Mitchell Trubisky will be the starter. I'm not excited about him. I'm not going to start him. Next, moving on to the wide receivers, you absolutely can start Allen Robinson because he's an absolute beast of a wide receiver, even though his quarterback play is terrible. Next, we have the running back position, and David Montgomery came to play last week. Yes, I know the Green Bay Packers defense is trash, but getting 100 yards on the ground and getting the targets that he was getting, that is the type of running back that you want. I got him as a must play this week. Next, we have the tight end position, and Jimmy Grandpa, I'm not really excited about. I think that you can play him, but I mean, he's a tight end and can fall into the end zone, and that's the extent of playing tight ends this year. Next, we have the defense, and you absolutely fire up that Bears defense against those Detroit Lions. Ugh. No offense, Mikey, but yikes. Next, we have the kicker, and I'm not playing their kicker. All right, moving on to the Detroit Lions, which, unfortunate Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford is not startable for me this week. The Bears defense is absolutely incredible, and I do not want to play with that. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Marvin Jones, I guess, is a flex play. I'm really not excited about it. Like I said, Bears are really good. Next, we have the running back position, and DeAndre Swift is still dealing with the concussion. There's a chance that he does play. And if he does play, I think that he can go into your starting lineup as a flex play with upside, even possibly a running back too. But with the Bears defense and him having concussion issues, there's a chance he doesn't play. Next, we have, and if he doesn't play, Adrian Peterson becomes a low-end flex play. Next, we have the tight end position, and TJ Hawkinson is in your lineup. Fire him up. I definitely think if he's on the field, you play him. There's not many tight ends that are getting the volume that he's getting. Next, we have the defense. No. Kicker. Sure, why not? All right, time to pick this game. Bears 3.5-point favorites at home. I'm probably going to go with the Bears. Duh, Bears, duh, Bears, duh, Bears, duh, Bears, duh, Bears. All right, that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Dolphins versus the Bengals. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Cincinnati Bengals are traveling to Miami to face the Dolphins. The spread is -11.5 Dolphins. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There are a couple of injuries to discuss. For the Dolphins, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is questionable to play this week. Running backs Matt Breida, Myles Gaskins, and Salvon Ahmed are questionable for this game.
Wow, that is a lot of injuries to get to, and considering Dolphins are the home team, let's talk about them for a moment. Starting at the top, Tua. If Tua plays, I'm not really excited about him, don't really want to play him. But if Ryan Fitzpatrick plays, I definitely think you can start him as a low-end quarterback one. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a gunslinger. He loves to throw the ball, and he is not afraid of anything. And this Bengals defense does not scare me, especially because their offense is going to struggle. So if Ryan Fitzpatrick's out there, I think you can fire him up as a streamer. Next, we have the wide receiver position. If Ryan Fitzpatrick starts as quarterback, Devontae Parker is a top 15 wide receiver. He's going to get the targets, and he's good. And like I said, they don't scare me. Next, we have the running back position. This is where it gets a little tricky. I believe that Myles Gaskin is projected to play. And if Myles Gaskin plays, I think you can play him. But if he doesn't play, somebody's going to step up in that role. The only other person that I would kind of trust would be Salvin Ahmed if he is playing and he's healthy. But if that's not the case, then I'm avoiding the backfield. Next, we have the tight end position. I think that Mike Gesicki is going to be a solid start. You can fire him up. Next, we have the defense, and I think they're going to be one of the best defenses of the week. Bengals are playing a backup quarterback in Brian Allen. So I'm not worried about them, and they don't have Joe Mixon. So I definitely think the defense is going to be great, and I think you can play their kicker as well. Next, moving on to the Bengals. Let's make this quick. The only person you're even thinking about starting in this matchup is going to be Giovanni Bernard as a flex play with upside, and possibly T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins has a terrible matchup. Xavier Howard is going to be on him. He's a great cornerback on the Dolphins, and I'm not really excited about it. So if I had to say somebody fell into the end zone, it's probably going to be Higgins, but I'm not confident in Higgins or Tyler Boyd. I think they're both flex plays. All right, time to pick this game. Dolphins are 11.5-point favorites. That's a lot of points, and I'm very tempted to take that. But I feel like 11.5 is a lot. And there's a chance Tua plays, and if Tua plays, I definitely don't think they cover the 11.5. I'm not super confident about this one, but gotta make the pick. 11.5 is a lot of points, so I'm gonna go with the Bengals. All right, that's gonna do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're gonna be talking about the Browns versus the Titans. Jeffrey, let's get it started.
The Cleveland Browns are traveling to Tennessee to face the Titans. The spread is -5.5 Titans. Weather should not be an issue in this game. In regards to injuries, for the Titans, tight end Jonnu Smith is out in this matchup.
Jonnu Smith has not been performing as of late. He's pretty touchdown dependent and not getting as many targets, but he is still one of those tight ends you can throw in and get a touchdown. Other than this week, obviously, because he's out. Starting at the top, we have Ryan Tannehill. I think Ryan Tannehill is going to be a good play this week. I have him as a top 12 quarterback. You got to play him. I think that he's going to be fantastic. Over the last 5 games, he's been the quarterback 12. Last 3 games, quarterback 10. He's not playing poorly. He had some terrible matchups, but I do think that Ryan Tannehill is good. Next, we have the wide receiver position, and I think you obviously start A.J. Brown because he's an absolute beast. You fire him up every week. Next, you have Corey Davis. I think that Corey Davis is a flex play with upside. Next, we have the running back position, and Derrick Henry. King Henry is always in your lineup because he's an absolute beast. Next, you have the tight end position, and obviously, like I said earlier, Jonnu Smith is going to be out, so we're not playing him, clearly. Next, we have the defense. I'm not playing the defense, and I'm not playing the kicker. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. You're not starting Baker Mayfield. I think you can start Jarvis Landry as a wide receiver, and you start both running backs, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's obviously a top 12 running back every week, and I have Kareem Hunt as a mid to low end running back too. And the reason that is, I don't think that he's going to be as involved, and he seems like he's dealing with an injury that he's getting over. I don't think that he's injured, but I do think that he has something nagging him that's not allowing him to have his full burst. Next, we have the tight end position, and Austin Hooper, I think, is in play. He qualifies as a tight end. Next, we have the defense. No. Kicker, no. All right, time to pick this game. Not going to lie to you, this one was kind of difficult for me. But I'm going to go with the Titans. I think the Titans win this game for sure. It's whether or not they win it by 5.5. That's more than a field goal, less than a touchdown. Obviously, you know math. But I just think that King Henry is going to get going. It is becoming his time of the season where he just runs through people. So I think he's going to be running through some people. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Texans versus the Colts. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Indianapolis Colts are traveling to Houston to face the Texans. The spread is -3.5 Colts. Weather does not factor into this game because the Texans play in a dome. For the Texans, running back David Johnson is off of the injury reserve and should be in this matchup. Wide receiver, Will Fuller, has been suspended for 6 games for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing substances policy. For the Colts, T.Y. Hilton is questionable in this matchup.
Disappointing to hear about Will Fuller. He was going to help bring some of you to fantasy glory, but violating the protocol, 6 games, he is basically irrelevant for the rest of the year, unfortunately. Let's start off with those Texans. Starting at the top, Deshaun Watson is an absolute beast. You fire him up every week, even without Will Fuller, he will find people to get the ball to. Next, we have the wide receiver position, and now that Will Fuller's gone, you got to upgrade some other players. Brandon Cooks, I think, becomes a very interesting wide receiver 2 with upside, possibly to be a wide receiver 1. He is very talented. Don't forget that this man has been on like 4 or 5 different teams and seems to almost always get 1,000 yards. So he's a very good wide receiver. Fire him up. Next, you have Kiki Cutie. Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? I did say I was going to leave that to Drake. I can't help myself. I'm sorry, guys. So, Kiki. I think that Kiki Cutie is a playable asset as a flex play. Someone is going to fill the void, and Kiki has been playing with Deshaun Watson for a couple years now, and I definitely think that they have a connection. Next, we have the running back position, and finally, David Johnson is off of IR from a concussion. I didn't even know you go on IR for a concussion. Concussion is a week, sometimes 2 weeks, but you just guaranteed at the very beginning that he was going to be out for 3 weeks. It's ridiculous. Let me stop. You know, it hits me personally because I have him in a few leagues, but goodness gracious. Anyways, so if he starts, I think that you can start him as a running back too, but if he doesn't start, I think Duke Johnson slides right on in there. I think David Johnson is, considering it wasn't like a leg injury, I think that he should be able to come back fine. So fire up your David Johnson. If he's not in there, fire up your Duke Johnsons. Next, we have the tight end position. And with Will Fuller out, I think Deshaun Watson spreads the ball around a little bit more. So Jordan Akins could get a couple more targets. I'm actually firing him up in one of my leagues because I don't have another choice. Jonnu Smith went out and all the other tight ends look like trash. Next, we have the defense. No, thank you. Kicker, no. All right, moving on to the Indianapolis Colts. Phillip Rivers has actually been playing pretty solid recently, and the Texans defense sucks. So I think that you can fire up Phillip Rivers if you're desperate and need a streamer. Next, we have the wide receiver position. As Jeffrey said, we have an injury to T.Y. Hilton, but I believe that he should play through it. I'm not excited about playing him. But I was actually listening to the Fantasy Footballers the other day, and Mike, the Hitman Wright, reminded me of something. T.Y. Hilton destroys the Texans. I don't know what it is about T.Y. Hilton, but every time he plays them, he kills them. And it's not just with Andrew Luck. He kills them with other people too. Jacoby Brissett did work with T.Y. Hilton against the Texans. I don't know why he destroys them every time, but he does. So I think that he can be played. I'm going to leave him as a flex play because I'm going to hedge my bets, but I do think that he can have a solid game. Michael Pittman Jr. is also in contention. I have him as a wide receiver too because he can make a big play work. Next, we have the running back position, and Jonathan Taylor seems to be back. I think you can fire him up, and I think you can fire up Nyheim Hines. I have them both as low-end running back 2s with upside depending on who gets the ball. Next, we have the tight end position. If I had to pick one, I'm going to go with Trey Burton, but I'm kind of whatever about it. I do think he's been getting some targets, so fire him up. I think that he'll be fine. Tight end position is terrible this year, just like it is every year. Next, we have the Colts defense, and I think that you can play them, even though I still believe that Deshaun Watson should have a good game. I think that they get a couple sacks and a couple turnovers. Next, we have the kicker, and I think you can fire him up as well. Now, moving on to the spread. This is a tough game to pick. Offense versus defense. I'm going to take defense on this one. 3.5. I'm on the fence, guys. I'm on the fence. I'm tilting. I'm not quite sure about this. But I think that the defense of the Colts is so much better than the defense of Houston. but Houston's offense is still really good. Whatever. I'm picking them. Lock it in. Alright, that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over the Jets versus the Raiders. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Las Vegas Raiders are traveling to, quote, New York to face the Jets. The spread is -8.5 Raiders. Weather should not be an issue in this game, but winds will be between 13 and 14 miles per hour. For the Raiders, running back, Josh Jacobs, is out for this matchup. Wide receiver, Nelson Aguilar, is questionable with an ankle injury. For the Jets, wide receiver, Jamison Crowder, and running back, Frank Gore are both questionable for this game.
It's a lot of injuries to get to, but let's start with the home team, New York Jets. Alright, I'm going to make this quick, actually. There's only 3 people even on the fantasy radar for the Jets. We have Frank Gore, if he plays, and he'll be a flex play, and 2 wide receivers, Brashad Perryman, Jamison Crowder, and Denzel Mims. I'm kind of about all of them, to be honest with you, especially with Sam Darnold as a quarterback. Surprisingly, I think that Joe Flacco was slinging it a little bit better. I think that they could all be low-end flex plays with very minimal upside. Brashad Perryman's a huge man. He could always somehow get deep and get a touchdown. Jamison Crowder is a clever wide receiver and could get something done. But I'm not looking for them to be anything better than flex play. All right, next, moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders. Starting at the top, I know Derek Carr crushed you last week. And the reason I know is because he crushed me too. 2 weeks before the fantasy playoffs, I decide to put you in my lineup, and this is what you do? Derek Carr, come on, bro. That was an awful matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. You just played well against the Chiefs, the championship Chiefs, and you just embarrass yourself on national television going against the Falcons, the Julio Jones-less, Todd Gurley-less Falcons. Are you kidding me? Y'all were supposed to run all over these guys, and this is what you do? Oh. You know what? I'm sorry, everybody. Let me get off my soapbox. Y'all don't need to hear me complain about all this. But still, though, that was terrible. Ugh. Anyways, back to my analysis. You can start Derek Carr this week. He's going against the terrible Jets, which is why I wanted you to pick him up last week, because you were going against the terrible Falcons. But I think you can fire him up this week. The Jets suck. Next, moving on to the wide receiver position. If Nelson Aguilar plays, I think you can play him as a flex play. He seems to be getting targeted in the red zone, and he's a downfield threat. I like that. Next, we have the running back position. Like Jeffrey said, unfortunately, Josh Jacobs is going to be out in this matchup, which hurts my fantasy leagues. But Devontae Booker is a solid fill-in for him. He was playing well prior to Josh Jacobs getting injured, and I think he's going to be playing well after. So I think that he is going to be a solid fill-in running back 2 this week. Next, we have the tight end position, and everybody's starting Darren Waller because he's an absolute beast. Next, we have the defense. I think you can play the defense because the Jets suck. But Oakland, I'm just down on Oakland. But I do think that the defense is definitely playable. If you are scrounging the bottom of the barrel, for sure you can play them. Next, we have the kicker, and I absolutely think you can play the kicker. Now, time to pick the game, and they're 8.5 point spreads. That is a lot of points, but the Jets suck. I'm not confident about this one. I'm not happy about it. You heard the rants. You heard everything but explicitives. I'm not happy, but the Jets suck. So I guess I gotta go with the Raiders. 8.5 points is a lot of points, though. I'm not very confident about this one. All right, Jeffrey, get me out of here. And on to the next one. In this one, we're gonna go over the Rams versus Cardinals. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Los Angeles Rams are traveling to Arizona to face the Cardinals. The spread is -2.5 Cardinals. Weather should not be an issue in this game. For the Rams, Robert Woods is questionable in this game.
Robert Woods may be questionable, but I have heard that I believe he's going to play. So let's start with that home team. Arizona. Starting at the top, Kyler Murray's a little dinged up with his shoulder. He's going to be fine. Fire him up. Next, we have the wide receiver. You're obviously playing DeAndre Hopkins, even though he has a tough matchup in this one. I think that we lean away from Christian Kirk, but you obviously have to play DeAndre Hopkins. Next, we have the running back position. Kenyon Drake, I think, is a running back 2. Chase Edmonds, I think, is a flex play. Next, we have the tight end. No, thank you. Defense, no. Kicker, no. Moving on to the Rams. Jared Goff, I don't think that you should be starting this week. Moving on to the wide receivers, I think if Robert Woods is healthy, both Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are playable in this matchup. Yes, I know Patrick Peterson is a fantastic defender, but they've both proven that they can both play very well in bad positions, so I think you fire them up. Next, running back positions. I don't trust any of them. Chase Edmonds is getting more work. Darrell Henderson's getting a little bit of work. I'm not a big fan of rolling the dice this deep into the season, so I'm not trying to play any of them. Next, tight end, no. Defense, absolutely. Their defense is one of the best in the league. And kicker, no thank you. But if you worst comes to worst, they could be fine because they should be up. All right, time to pick this game. It's a 2.5 point spread. I'm going to go with the Rams. That defense is incredible. I think Kyler Murray is very, very good, but this defense, I think, wins out. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over the Seahawks versus Giants. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The New York Giants are traveling to Seattle to face the Seahawks. The spread is -9.5 Seahawks. My satellites show that there is an 11% chance of rain. Winds will be 9 miles per hour. For the Giants, Daniel Jones is doubtful to play this week. For the Seahawks, Josh Gordon has been reinstated by the NFL.
That's amazing. I'm actually really happy about the Josh Gordon news, but very sad about the Daniel Jones news. All right, we're going to start with the home team. Obviously, there are some must-starts here. Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, even though Tyler Lockett is very up and down. You're not going to catch the up games if you don't play the up and down games. DK Metcalf, I think that he's a must start. Chris Carson's a must start. I think you can play their defense, and I think that you play their kicker. Next, moving on to the Giants. Daniel Jones is out, and that's going to eliminate a lot of other players. The only 2 players I'm actually looking at, actually 3 technically, the only players I'm looking at are Sterling Shepard as a flex play, Darius Slayton as a flex play if you want. He makes me nervous. And Wayne Gallman, who's been very consistent over the last 5 weeks. So, time to pick this game. 9.5 point spread. I'm not going to lie to you. This is really difficult because I have a feeling that it's going to be closer than this. But Seahawks. There's a very good chance that the Seahawks blow out the Giants. I think the Giants' defense is underrated. But I do think that with a backup quarterback, the Giants aren't going to be able to keep up. So, going with the Seahawks. All right, that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over the Packers versus the Eagles. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Philadelphia Eagles are traveling to Green Bay to face the Packers. The spread is -8.5 Packers. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There are a few major injuries to discuss. For the Packers, wide receivers, Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Alan Lazard, and running back, Aaron Jones, are all questionable in this game.
I actually think that they should play. All 3 of them are a little questionable, but I do believe they should play. The NFL has been more stringent on whether or not you say that somebody's questionable or not, and I do believe they should play. All right, starting at the top. Aaron Rodgers. You're playing Aaron Rodgers. He's an absolute beast. Wide receiver, you're playing Devontae Adams. Everything else is a crapshoot. Next, we have the running back, Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones is going to be a solid play, assuming he plays. And Jamal Williams, I actually think, can sneak into that flex play category. Next, we have the tight end, Robert Tonyan. I think that you can play him as well as a low-end tight end 1. Defense, I think you play them as well. The Eagles are trash. Next, you have the kicker, and I think you play them too. Next, moving on to the Eagles. The only players to start in the Eagles are Miles Sanders and Dallas Goedert. Other than that, leaving it alone. All right, time to pick this game. 8.5 points. Pretty tight, but I'm going to go with the Packers! I just think that the Packers have too much firepower for the Eagles to handle, and Carson Wentz may not even finish this game as a starting quarterback. So fire up your Packers. All right, that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over the Jaguars versus Vikings. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Jacksonville Jaguars are traveling to Minnesota to face the Vikings. The spread is -9.5 Vikings. Weather does not factor into this game because the Vikings play in a dome. There are a few major injuries to discuss. For the Jaguars, quarterback Gardner Minshew is still out for this game with a thumb injury. Mike Glennon will be the starting quarterback. For the Vikings, tight end Irv Smith is out with a groin injury.
Not too bad. All right, we're going to start with the home team, the Vikings. I actually think that you can play Kirk Cousins in this matchup. I actually think this is a fine matchup. The Jacksonville Jaguars are really struggling right now. Next, wide receiver, you're starting Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson as wide receiver 2s with upside. Next, Dalvin Cook, if he plays, you play him. Like Jeffrey said, the tight end, Irv Smith, dealing with some injuries. I wouldn't play him. Kyle Rudolph then kind of moves up, and you can play him if you want. I'm not really trying to. Next, we have the defense, and I think that's acceptable considering the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing pretty much their backups. And the kicker is meh, whatever. All right, Jacksonville Jaguars. 2 players that we're going to talk about. First, James Robinson. I think you fire him up as the running back for this game. And DJ Chark. I think you could play him as a flex play with upside. All right, and now it's time to pick this game. Struggle. 9.5 points is a lot of points for the Vikings. A lot of points. And Jacksonville has proven that they can score some points. Oh, I don't think that the Vikings blow them out, so I guess I'm going to have to go to Jacksonville. Oh, this feels gross. I'm not confident in this one. All right, I think it's going to be enough for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we have the Chargers versus the Patriots. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Los Angeles Chargers are traveling to New England to face the Patriots. The spread is -1.5 Chargers. Weather should not be an issue in this game. In regards to injuries, for the Chargers, running backs, Kalen Ballage, is questionable in this game. Wide receiver, Keenan Allen, is questionable for this game.
Keenan Allen being questionable is interesting, but I do believe that he should play. So let's start on with those Chargers. Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert has been playing out of his mind as a rookie. It's absolutely amazing, but Bill Belichick will throw some crazy things at him, so I think that he's a starter, but I do think that there's a chance he struggles. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Keenan Allen, if he plays, you play him. Mike Williams, I also think is a solid start. That being said, Keenan Allen's going to be going against Stephon Gilmore, and that's not going to be the best matchup. Next, we have the running back position. If you have Austin Eckler, if you waited this long, you got to fire him up. He's an absolute beast. Next, we have the tight end position. You always start Hunter Henry just because tight ends are terrible. Next, we have the defense. So thank you, kicker, no. Moving on to the Patriots. Cam Newton is a desperation play at best. It has not been looking great for him. Next, we have the wide receivers. Jacoby Myers is the only one I'm even thinking about, and he's a flex play. Next, moving on to the running back position. James White and Damian Harris, I think, are flex plays with upside. And I'm not starting the tight end, defense, or kicker. All right, time to pick this game. I think I'm going to have to go Chargers on this one. It's close. It's basically a pick 'em, 1.5 points. Very close. I think that the Chargers actually get this win. They need it bad. Patriots need it too, but I mean, their season's pretty much over. Chargers are pushing for the future. All right, sounds good with this one, Jeffrey. On to the next one. In this matchup, the Broncos are going against the Chiefs. Jeffrey, let's get the rundown.
The Denver Broncos are traveling to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. The spread is -13.5 Chiefs. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There is one major injury to discuss. For the Broncos, wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, is questionable in this game. Running backs, Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay, are both questionable in this game. For the Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a stomach virus.
That's not good, but all the players are actually projected to play, so I'm going to assume that they are, and if they're not, obviously move them out of your lineups. Alright, let's start off with Chiefs. Very simple. You start Patrick Mahomes, you start Clyde Edwards-Helaire, assuming he plays, and you start Tyreek Hill, you start Travis Kelce. Also, defense and kicker. You start all of them. You start throwing darts with everybody else, but those are the main starters. Next, we have the Broncos. Honestly, the only two players I'm even thinking about playing are Melvin Gordon and Jerry Jeudy. And Jerry Jeudy, to me, is kind of an afterthought. I have him more as a low-end flex play. And Melvin Gordon could always fall in the end zone. All right, time to pick this game. 13.5-point spread. I'm still going with the Chiefs. Chiefs can beat anybody by 20. They're absolutely outrageous, and I'm not betting against them until they lose. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one, Jeffrey. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over Washington versus Steelers. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Washington football team are traveling to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. The spread is -8.5 Steelers. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There are a few major injuries to discuss. For the Washingtons, wide receiver Terry McLaurin is questionable to play in this matchup due to an ankle injury.
Yikes. Terry McLaurin is actually one of the bright spots of the Washington football team. We're going to start with the Steelers. I'll get to Terry McLaurin in a minute. Starting at the top, I think you can start Ben Roethlisberger. Washington against wide receivers are actually really tough, so it's not the best matchup for Big Ben. Next, we have the wide receivers. I'm starting all three. Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool. I actually ordered them. Deontay Johnson, Claypool, Juju. I think you start all three of them as wide receiver twos with upside. Next, if James Conner plays, I think you fire him up. If not, Benny Snell is a solid backup against Washington, who is actually pretty good defense. Next, we have the tight end, Eric Ebron. Very solid. Fire him up. He's a beast. Next, we have the defense, fire him up. Kicker, fire him up. Next, we have the Washington football team. Only 3 players I'm starting from this. That's not true. 4 players I'm starting for this lineup. Definitely not the quarterback. Wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, assuming that he plays. Running backs, we have J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson. I think they're both play-worthy. I think Antonio Gibson, even against this terrible matchup, is a running back too. J.D. McKissick could be a flex play with upside depending on how much they throw the ball to him. And Logan Thomas. I think Logan Thomas is actually a solid tight end, and you can fire him up if you need him. That being said, this spread is 8.5. Oh man, this is actually really tough for me. This is really close because I do think that Washington stays in this game. I'm not confident about this at all. I'm not going to lie to you. To you, the people, you know when I'm telling the truth. Not confident about this. Washington can definitely put up some points against the Steelers. This defense has been great, but I do think that they can't score on them. Problem is, the Steelers should be able to drop 40, and I don't think that Washington can keep up. So, I'm going to go with the Steelers on this one. All right, Jeffrey, thank you very much. On to the next one. In this matchup, we have the 49ers versus the Bills. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Buffalo Bills are traveling to San Francisco to face the 49ers. The spread is -2.5 Bills. Weather should not be an issue in this game. In regards to injuries, for the Bills, wide receiver John Brown is now on injured reserve with an ankle injury.
That really sucks. John Brown is actually really good for this offense and great for Josh Allen, but gotta push on. Starting at the top for the Bills, Josh Allen, I think you could definitely play him. I don't think that he has the upside he normally has. 49ers defense is pretty good, and he plays much better with John Brown in the matchup. Next, we have the wide receiver position, Stephon Diggs. Can you dig it? I definitely think that he is a good option in this matchup. Fire him up. And Cole Beasley, I think, is a flex play with definite upside. When John Brown isn't there, Cole Beasley is very solid. Next, running back position. Not really excited about either of them, but if I had to pick one, Zach Moss, because he's going to fall into the end zone. Next, we have the tight end. No defense. No mediocre. I'm really not trying to start a defense. Kicker, no. 49ers. Not starting the quarterback. Really, the only people that I'm starting is Raheem Mostert. And I would actually start Deebo Samuel, possibly Brandon Ayuk if he's out there. Brandon Ayuk is a talented wide receiver, and Deebo Samuel seems like he's getting involved every way possible. Other than that, not touching the 49ers. Time to pick this game. I actually think this is going to be a really close one, but I'm going to pick the Bills. Alright, I think that's going to do it for this matchup. Jeffrey, on to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over the Cowboys versus the Ravens. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Dallas Cowboys are traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens. The spread is -9.5 Ravens. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There are a few major injuries to discuss. For the Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott is questionable in this matchup. For the Ravens, quarterback, Lamar Jackson, and running backs, Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins, are listed as questionable for this matchup.
That's not good news at all. I actually hope everybody plays, obviously, that we discussed, and I'll get into that in a second. Starting with the Ravens, starting at the top. If Lamar Jackson plays, you obviously fire him up. If not, it affects a lot of other positions. So let's keep moving. Running back position. If all the running backs play, J.K. Dobbins is my favorite. If Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins both sit, obviously, Gus Edwards is going to be your guy. Next, wide receivers, I'm not touching any of them. Mark Andrews, I believe, is questionable to play. If he plays, you play him. If not, obviously, you do not play him. Next, Ravens defense, you fire him up every time. Kicker, absolutely. All right, Cowboys. Honestly, I'm really not excited about anybody here. Ezekiel Elliott, you're only playing because of the volume, and you're really not happy about it. This is a great defense in the Ravens, but you're probably going to play him anyways. Next, we have the wide receivers, and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. I think those both are flex plays with upside. This is a terrible matchup, and the quarterback play, not great. And I think that's actually it for the Cowboys. All right, that's going to do it for this one. If I have to pick... If Lamar Jackson plays, I pick the Ravens. If he does not play, unfortunately, I got to pick the Cowboys. Ugh. Trust me, I am not happy to pick the Cowboys. They've been terrible. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. That's going to do it for the Week 13 matchup. Thank you so much for attending. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you for watching this show. Thank you for paying attention to my start sits. Let me know what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Good luck this week, Bay Nation. Peace.